Welcome in, O House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and Gilbert will be along in a little bit. He is finishing up his stories for Sports Illustrated, but what a game for the Rams as they advance to the NFC title game. They will take on the Seattle Seahawks after outlasting the Bears in overtime, and what a way to do it as Harrison Mevis wins it with a field goal there, and the Rams pull out the win 20-17 in overtime. What a gutsy performance here by the Rams, and shout out to them for staying, with it in the cold. There were some decisions there towards the end by McVay that I'm sure had a lot of Ram fans pulling their hair, but they get it done. They forced Caleb Williams into three interceptions in this game, and I think that was the biggest thing there. Cam Curl with the hell of a game. 13 tackles, two passes defended, one interception, and one quarterback hit. Without him, they don't win this game. And then Kobe Durant, man, like we've been talking about this secondary, and what a struggle it's been for them. And Kobe Durant with two interceptions in this game. The pass rush was there. They just didn't get to Caleb Williams. They don't get a sack in this game, but they put the pressure on him. He made some great throws. I mean, that throw he made at the end of the fourth quarter to tie the game up. Just what a you can just sit there and marvel at it, but at the end of the day, the Rams, pull this one out, as I said, and they're moving on to the championship game versus the Seattle Seahawks. But man, getting going back to this uh, game, I mean, back and forth, it seemed like the Rams wanted to put this game away. The again, like the low again between the second and third quarter. Um, the Bears looked like they were going to go into the half up 10-7, but the offense finally did something. They get in field goal range. Maybe it hits the field goal there, kind of a curveball of a kick, and they tie it up at 10, and then they take the lead in the fourth quarter. Finally, running the ball in this game, committing to it. They go on another uh, um, 14 play drive to take this a 7 point lead, and then the Bears come back, and then we're on the cusp of tying it, but Spates had a great tip there on fourth down. I thought the other thing, Ben Johnson really allowed the Rams to stay in this game. There were some questionable calls there by Ben Johnson. He even said that the reason they didn't go for it on fourth down when they tied the game was because they weren't great on fourth down. I thought the Rams stopped the Bears three times on fourth down, including two in the red zone. So because of that, Ben Johnson did not go for it on fourth down, on the 2 point conversion there. So he ended up just kicking the extra point and taking the tie there. But let me bring on Gilbert Manzano. He, has a lot of stuff that he wrote about. I want to get his thoughts. I can't wait to hear from him and see where he's at in terms of where, what his biggest takeaways were from this matchup. Gilbert, welcome to the show. Good to have you on here. I wanted to wait. You said, hey, why don't you start the show without me? I said, no, I want to get your full thoughts on this. We need to do a proper breakdown of this matchup. And so take it away, sir. I want to get your takeaways. Where are you starting here?
Yeah, first of all, I'm wearing a beanie in honor of Sean McVay. If Sean McVay is gonna put aside his spiky hair, I have nice hair too, so might as well put on the beanie. Honestly, I was wearing my Kraken hat, and it didn't feel right to wear a Seattle hat after the Rams advanced to face the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC title game. So I just threw off the hat, and I saw my beanie here that I wore in Iceland and put it on. So that's why I'm wearing a beanie. Anyways, and then also yeah, it was a chaotic game, and I had to scramble to write a bunch of stories, and honestly, maybe you might be a note of my analysis, for Rams fans because I was assigned the Bears for the story, and pretty much what I wrote was how heartbreaking it was for the Bears because they were set up to win this game. And maybe hearing you talk, Victor, maybe I'm not off path here because it felt like a game like how the hell did the Rams win that game? Only 20 points, against a defense that you probably should have scored more points on. McVay was going away from the run again. The Bears defense, to their credit, were shutting down Devontae and Puka. There was like no creativity from the offense. And then defensively, again, I keep saying it. Where's the pass rush? 0 sacks today. But guess what? The secondary, let's give them love. The secondary stepped up, and people have been calling me out for being harsh on them. It can still be valid. Maybe I'm a little critical because they have been for the most part pretty bad all year. But there's been moments throughout the season where they show they're at least capable of being ball hawks to put a hand on the ball, be feisty, be competitive, and honestly, Cam Curl just showing effort on that curl route, that deep shot to DJ Moore, made all the difference. I don't know what was going through DJ Moore's mind. I don't know why Ben Johnson called that play. I don't know why Caleb Williams didn't call out of it. They took their shot. Something happened there. I'm curious to hear what happened from those three guys on that play there. But Curl sniffed it out. He made a dive and play. He went for it. And that you saw Matthew Stafford's face on the sideline. It was like, we let one get away. They're going to now go upfield and score on a field goal and end that game. So going back to my point is like, I don't know how the Rams really did it. It wasn't their best performance. They probably should have lost this game. That was such an insane touchdown throw Caleb Williams did from midfield. And I don't know who the player was, but there was a DB who just couldn't believe that Caleb Williams did that, like had his hands on his knees, went down. I was like, what the hell? But hey, to their testament, they put that aside right away and they kept playing, they kept battling. Again, I don't know how the hell the Rams won this game, but they did. Now give us part 3 of Seattle and the Rams.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Gilbert. And you're right in terms of how the hell did they win this game? This game they should have put this game away. And again, McVay's game management came into play here, Gilbert, especially in the fourth quarter. There, you had Kyron Williams going out of bounds on that first down. Before the 2-minute warning, right? That could have killed more time. And then him finally running the ball on third down instead of trying to pick up a first down on that play. I just didn't understand it. And I'm like, once you give the ball back, and then a terrible pun by the punter there too, like a short kick there. You could have had a chance to boom it there, and you just allow the Bears to tie the game. And I thought that was also another thing too, Gilbert, in terms of Ben Johnson. I thought for sure he was going to go for 2 at the end of the game there, and he went for the tie. And part of it was because the Rams kept stopping them on fourth down. And look, one of the things with Ben Johnson, and I understand why he went for it a lot on fourth down. A lot of it had to do with his defense, him not trusting his defense. But at the same time, the weather, Gilbert, I think helped out both of these defenses, because without the weather, this is probably a big shootout. It's somewhere in the 30s or 40s. It just that's what a game out in the snow can do to opponent offenses. It just slows you down. And for McVay not to run the ball, that was just bad there. And he got away with one here.
Yeah, from the Bears side, it was a game of a lot of whys and why did you do that and why the heck did you go for that? And but I'll say this: I think it was the right choice for Ben Johnson not to go for the 2-point conversion and walk off fashion. Like you do that in the regular season, in the playoffs. To me, that's just too risky. I'm all for fourth downs, but man, like if you get that amazing throw and then you whiff on the 2-point conversion and you like deflate the whole stadium, like I don't know how you live with that. But then I rather him go for the kill shot on the DJ Moore botch play than do that on the 2-point. I get it worked for the Seahawks in the regular season, but it's not the regular season, and you got to give your team like the full chance to compete and take your chances with the coin flip. And yeah, and the Rams, got the ball and they couldn't do anything. So again, this is on the Bears for blowing this one, but that one I'm okay. But it was a postseason, first postseason for Ben Johnson filled with a lot of mistakes. Like, I don't understand how you watch the game unfold against Green Bay and see all the magic that Caleb Williams did off script, away from the pocket, scrambling, just kind of just being a magician and not lean into that against the Rams. Like, I'm sure you've noticed anytime the Bears offense was clicking is when they were trailing, when they were playing erratic and hurrying up and just saying, Caleb Williams, go make a play and bail us out. Like, I don't understand, for being such a creative mind, why can't Ben Johnson, balance out that creativity and those, elite skills for Caleb Williams to be on the run. Just have the guy be on the move, call a couple bootlegs. Like, they honestly bailed out this Rams defense. And, it's also quite impressive that he didn't take any sacks when they weren't even moving that much. That's a kind of a knock on Jarrett Verse and gang, because they weren't really moving. And you still couldn't get to Caleb Williams. But honestly, for Ben Johnson, he's got to figure that out. You got to take off the training wheels. I get in year one with Caleb Williams. You want to protect the football. You want him to learn the scheme. But you were at your best when this guy was making magic. And how do you go into overtime seeing what he did on that throw to Cole Kmet, and you're still trying to play it, rather safe with the pocket throws. But anyways, they got to figure that out for the future. The fourth downs have been head scratching. There is no creativity on fourth down. So, but he's a rookie head coach, and we remember the Rams, their first year with Sean McVay. They were one and done. They lost to the Falcons at the Memorial Coliseum. They fizzled out. So that's something they're going to have to learn. But for the future of Chicago, I know most people here are not Bears fans, but when you go toe to toe with Matthew Stafford, I think you have a real one. And Caleb Williams has taken a lot of crap for whatever reason, but that guy's a real deal. And for that secondary to force him into 3 interceptions, not let him play, out of structure, kind of keeping the game tight, saying, okay, it's on us. We're the secondary. There's no pressure. It's pretty much us against you. And they stepped up. So overall, I keep going back to that, and I keep crapping on the secondary, but not today. They are not the weakling. Who cares if Ben Johnson screwed up the game? Who cares if Caleb Williams did not make more magic? Who cares if the Rams running game didn't really come to life here? But there would not be a third playoff game without that secondary. So I'm gonna keep saying it.
Yeah, and I'll have to say that even though Jared Verse, didn't get to Caleb Williams, he was big in a lot of run stops. He had some tackles for loss in this game, and I think that was part of the game plan too. Gilbert, was to set the edge, and we talked about it on the on the previous show, that I I wouldn't be surprised if that was what they were trying to do. There was pressure up the middle, and they forced him into some bad throws, and Kobe Durant was able to take advantage of that, as you said. Like, that was just that was on DJ Moore for not running the ball out. But hey, kudos to Kobe Durant, and he's the one that got beat on that great throw by Caleb Williams to tie the game. So we've been critical of the defensive back, and somebody left a comment here, and I want to make sure that he said, Don says, a few weeks back on your channel, I asked whether, oh no, this has to do with Mavis. Sorry, I'll get to that later on. But in terms of the secondary, we've been critical of them, but I just thought they came up big in this game, Gilbert. And you know, I whatever we want to say in terms of, as you said, like, all the mistakes they made, what matters at the end of the day, as you mentioned, is the fact that they won this game. And I thought, one more thing before I'll let you respond here, Gilbert. I just want to say too, like, the fact that they switched things up. They brought in McCrary on the outside. They also had Darius Williams, and they had Kobe Durant. Like, they moved some of those corners, and I thought Darius Williams had a good game in this. He had some good breakups. So, like I said, and Landman got beat a couple times by some of the tight ends there, but in the run game he was clutch there, and so stopping the run. And I thought that too, like, the defense did their job. We've been very critical, so I want to make sure we give kudos to them before we rip into some of the offensive mistakes that McVay made in this, or play calls that he made in this game.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened if DeAndre Swift clears that defender and Quentin Lake is not there to put the boomstick on him. Like, he kind of maybe, fell into the end zone. It was still kind of maybe a yard away, but to put that hit on him on, I think it was on a fourth down, was big. I think that was the one on fourth and goal from the 2, and they came up short. But that was big from
Yeah,
Quentin
that
Lake.
was third and goal, and then the
Yeah,
next
you're
play
right.
was the
Yeah.
spades, which I mentioned, and I don't know if anybody caught this, but they ran the same play that the Seahawks beat them with on that 2-point conversion in the second game. And I thought Spades, I get it, he should have probably intercepted that ball and taken it back the other way, but he tipped it. He did his job and forced a turn the ball over there for the Bears.
Yeah, that was another play where I don't get it. Like, just either give and also on that drive, give the ball to Kamonunga. Like, he's your physical runner, and you're giving it to DeAndre Swift. I didn't understand that. And then on that fourth down, like, it was kind of a simple throw. Like, get this guy out on the move, run it out. Like, you have a bunch of weapons, and like, I don't know where there wasn't more Costa and Loveland, and why there wasn't no more
He
tight
got
end
hurt
action.
too in that last
Yeah,
drive.
that's true. But get these guys on the move. Have the tight ends run around with Caleb Williams. But that was like, I don't understand that fourth down, and obviously that played a factor into why Ben Johnson didn't go for a 2-point conversion. Again, I think that was the right choice to not go for it. But that was good defense by them on fourth down to not have them have extra possessions. And yeah, let's give Chris Shula credit on in this time of year where he's running or in contention for head coaching position. So great, effort by him to have the secondary ready to go. Our good friend Gary Klein of the LA Times mentioned, watch out for Quentin Lake. He had one bad game because it was his first game back, and played well. He adds another element. Kobe Durant stepping up, Cameron Curl stepping up. Nate Landman was all over the field. Yeah, they got beat a couple times. There was that great rainbow throw, I think over Spates from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore in the first touchdown. But these guys were flying, they were hitting, and like you mentioned, they did stop the run. So I'll give the edge rushers that. But when you invest a first round pick in Jared Verse and you're the defensive rookie of the year, I got to see more. And I have not seen much from Verse besides the pressure rate. I get it, but he doesn't make game changing plays, at least not this year and not this postseason. And to allow Caleb Williams to run back from, what was it, 4th and 4 from the 14 all the way to the midfield and unleash that filthy throw, and you can't put pressure on the guy or you can't bring him down, that's on the front. So but it's the secondary's day, it's Chris Shula's day, it's a defensive game plan day. They came through, which tells you, like, when we all focus on the pass rush, we all focus on Stafford, we all focus on the wide receivers and the coaches. It was, or at least offensively for McVay, it was none of that. It was all, the weak back end of the defense that I've been critical of. So I'm cool with giving them the praise, but yeah, there's a lot of moments where this entire team could have stepped up. But hey, that's the way playoff football goes. They got lucky. They got a couple breaks here, and now you head for Seattle.
And sometimes that's all you need in playoff games, and you start looking, Gilbert, at the rest of these quarterbacks that are left. Gilbert, it's crazy. So you have Stafford has 251 starts and 127 wins. Darnold has 92 starts, 50 wins. May has 31 starts and 19 wins. And Stidham has 4 starts and 1 win. Matthew Stafford has 7 wins in the playoffs. Drake May has 2. Sam Darnold has 1. Jarrett Stidham has 0. So, I mean, and then this is also Matthew Stafford's 55th career game-winning drive in the fourth quarter or overtime, including regular season. He has 11 more than the next closest QB since his first season in 2009. So, I mean, and then also his career playoff record now goes to 4-1 in the divisional round or later. So, they you would say that they have the best quarterback and the best coach remaining in these playoffs. And sometimes, Gilbert, as we said, you just want to win in advance, and that's all that matters. Especially, they are responsible for having to go on the road now for 3 straight matchups now with the one coming up against Seattle because they didn't take care of business during the regular season. So at this point, you deal with the elements, and they've gotten away with some calls in place here from McVay, and now they're headed to what is it? Their 12, is it their let me see. The Rams are headed to the NFC Championship game for the 12th time, and they won their last 4 appearance in a row. Two for the greatest show on turf, and then this is the second one in the McVay era. Gilbert.
Yeah, this is a matchup that we all want to see. That was probably the best game of the regular season in Week 16, Thursday Night Football. The chaotic day from Puka Nakua off the field crap, and then a monster performance where he went off. That's what his coach said. But yeah, you got a chance to right those wrongs and make them right. And obviously going to Seattle where that happened, in Week 16. And yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough matchup. I still haven't wrapped my mind around that matchup for the third time because this game was so chaotic. And then the Seahawks just dominated the 49ers, right? I don't know what to believe from them, but they're playing well. They're rolling. They have not lost they have not lost since they lost to the Rams the first time, I think. Now I think about it. So they're doing everything right here. It's going to be a very tough challenge. And honestly, the first 2 matches were the Rams and the Seahawks. I was very confident the Rams are going to win. This time around, not so much. I think the Seahawks have been much better the second half of the season. But it's hard to predict how a third divisional matchup's going to go. So, but we'll get to that during the week. Yeah, overall, sometimes you're on the wrong end of a close playoff game, like Philadelphia last year, and sometimes you're on the right end of a playoff game, like in Chicago this year. So, yeah, that's the thing about football. You don't know how it's going to work out. We were all saying, well, if Bryce Young could carve up the secondary, so will Caleb Williams. Well, that wasn't really the case. Besides that one insane throw, probably the best touchdown pass in the playoff setting I've seen. I can't remember. But yeah, Caleb Williams. I'm gonna keep praising him. Reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. Nobody does what he could do besides prime Aaron Rodgers. Not even I've seen Mahomes play. I've seen Josh Allen play. The way he combines erratic moments with a strong arm in the most pressure filled moments and somehow slow down the game with those throws, it's only Aaron Rodgers like. So it's going to be a tough one for Chicago, but when you have the next Aaron Rodgers on your side, it must feel nice. And a lot of times, obviously, in any type of sports setting, when you go toe to toe with one of the best ones in Matthew Stafford or whatever setting, whatever, Kobe, Jordan, or Mahomes, Brady, to tie the football, like, the future is set up well for you. So, it's going to be a good matchup between Ben Johnson and Sean McVay for many years to come. But it was a Rams night. And I think me kind of, talking about where the Bears are headed just seems right because I don't know. It was an ugly game for the Rams, but sometimes when you have the more experience, you have, more, I guess, toughness and you want it more. That's the way football is. It sounds like cliche, but it wasn't their best night, but here they are.
Yeah, and part of it too was like you were going up against not only the snow but the magic of the Chicago Bears season this year. Like they had won
Yeah.
7 games when they were trailing under 2 minutes, and so there was also that, and they were faced with it, and the fact that they also had the Pope against them because the Pope is a Chicago
Destiny.
Bears fan, and so they broke a bunch of streaks here. If Matthew Stafford, it was 1-9, and that was a big thing that I saw in the comments from Bears fans, and now he's 2-9, and so you just continue to slay all the things that you need to get through. And I'll say this: if they're able to continue this run for the Rams, it's impressive. Like the fact that you've been going on the road and you make it to the Super Bowl as a wild card. I mean, I get it. They've been the one. Everybody calls them the most complete team this season in a chaotic regular season that we saw, and they had to start on the road, and so far they're just continuing to advance. And I'm trying to figure out where I give the credit to, but at the end of the day, you mentioned it last week, it starts and ends with McVay and Stafford, and we can be as critical as we want to be, with the game management, with him abandoning the run. But at the end of the day, the guy just wins playoff games. He just became Gilbert. He just became the youngest coach in NFL history to win 10 playoff games before the age of 40. So I think he turns 40 on Saturday. So I mean, at the again, what matters is winning. And yes, the Bears are going to be a challenge going forward, but I said it in our preview. You have the better quarterback and you have the better coach at the moment. This is, things are setting up for you to be able to go on a Super Bowl run right now with the chaos that we've seen throughout the playoffs and the regular season. You need to take advantage of this. And so far, even though there's been some bumps here, Gilbert, they're continuing to just advance, and that's all that matters, I think.
Yeah, and off of the comment from All Good Things, I'm pretty sure those two Caleb Williams TDs were on fourth down. That
Yes.
first one was finally Ben Johnson got something right on fourth
Yeah.
down, and the second
DJ
one was
Moore. Yep.
yeah, to DJ Moore. Second one was just all Caleb Williams magic. But yeah, now and I know we've kind of been saying, well, I don't know what the hell we saw from the offense, but yeah, sometimes it's when you have the experience, superstar quarterback and Stafford. That's enough in tight games. And that throw to Devontae Adams, I think it was on third down, was insane. Obviously, it's hard to top what Caleb Williams did, but that's routine for Matthew Stafford. That's what we just kind of become accustomed. We're kind of like, oh yeah, another matrix like throw, another curveball, like it's a baseball out there, no look pass, whatever. He does that all the time, and we're over here losing our mind for Caleb Williams. But that kind of just tells you he's on that path of Matthew Stafford, who I think what he's done here with the Rams the last 5 years just tells you how special of a player he was in Detroit. He wasn't getting the shine because they weren't winning. But now with the Rams and that spotlight, like you mentioned, when they get to the division round and on, they tend to do better. But he didn't get that in Detroit. He was, I think, 0-3 in the playoffs. I forgot, wild card. But yeah, and just to kind of move on from this game, it will be interesting if they get past Seattle, which is going to be very difficult. Like, do you get a third meeting against the Patriots after losing to Tom Brady twice? One with Kurt Warner, one with Jared Goff. Is Matthew Stafford the charm here? That'll be interesting. Maybe it's the Broncos, but I'm just getting ahead of myself here. There's still a lot to be determined in Seattle, and if Seattle has to play Denver, that's a rematch from Super Bowl. I lost track which one, but the one where Percy Harvin took the kick return touchdown to the house on 87 yards, and then obviously Seattle playing the Patriots would be the rematch of the Malcolm Butler game. So a lot of ties here.
Yeah, and I think we also buried the lead here, Gilbert, and the two faces that we were really worried about, right? One was defense, and we've already talked up the secondary, how good it was, and we've been critical of the front, and not having much of a pass rush. But special teams, man, we didn't hear a beep from special teams until it was time, and now I can go to this comment here, and it's from Don, and it says, a few weeks back on your channel, I asked whether you were confident in Mevis, and you were not sure. Have you changed your view based on the pressure winning kick today? And I think, watching Harrison Mevis here kick the field goal and win it for the Rams, kick that curveball, to tie the game at 10, it showed a lot. And
Yeah.
part of it, it wasn't his fault, Gilbert, the fact that he had not been put in pressure situations, right? We wanted to see it. The other thing was that the Rams were, for most of the season, were up ahead. They were beating up on teams, especially once they made the switch to Mevis. They would never have that opportunity for him, and then they put him in that pressure situation in Seattle, and he misses, and it feels like, okay, here we go again. But the fact that he went through that, I think, built him for this situation. And now, like, you reap the fruits of that. And so going forward, now you can say that you can believe in him. With the fact that he kicked the game-winning field goal in those elements, that bodes well, especially if you need him again in Seattle.
Yeah, it's all a confidence booster, and obviously the return team or the punter on that kick at the end was pretty bad, and there's still a lot to sort out on special teams. But when you have a kicker who's confident, that's pretty much most of the battle. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into special teams and coverage and return, all things like that. But they better bring it on special teams because I think Seattle has one of the better ones, and obviously you got to defend Rashid Shaheed, who had the 58-yard punt return touchdown on them in week 16, and then he had the 95-yard kick return touchdown against the 49ers. So I think special teams is going to be a big factor in Seattle. These are probably the two most complete teams in the NFL. You can argue, obviously, Rams have a better
Just say it.
offense,
They're the
but
two best teams.
yeah, they're the two best teams. Rams have the better offense. Seattle has a better defense. Special teams belong to Seattle. Coaching maybe goes to the Rams. That's a debatable one. But again, we're gonna break it down on House of Horns during the week. But uh, that's something you definitely could take away going into Seattle is that Mavis has the confidence to make kicks like that. Obviously, that was kind of a short one there at the end, but it doesn't matter. Pressure is pressure, and it doesn't get any bigger than that than what he had in Chicago.
Yeah, and this is a great comment by Henry Camacho. He says, two tough road wins. The weather was definitely a factor. This is the postseason. All that matters is who scores the most while having the fewest mistakes. Caleb is amazing, but those three picks were dooming. And I think at the end of the day, when you win the turnover battle, most times you're going to win. We saw it in all this in the division around Gilbert. It was the teams that, like the Bills, they turned the ball over a bunch of times. The
Yeah.
Texans turned the ball over a bunch of times. You can win games, turning the ball over. And so the fact that the Rams didn't, I thought was really really good in this game, Gilbert. Let me just go through the comments here. I'll pick out some of them. You just give me some feedback here, Gilbert, and we'll close out and we'll get ready for the NFC title game between the Rams and the Seahawks on Wednesday. We'll preview it and we'll see if we can get someone on to help us break down the matchup. We'll go from there. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Here is we talked about it. Brian Smith, he says, I still don't like Mevis. It's like laughing. So there's that. Don also says McVay abandoned the run early and only resumed the run later in the game. Very lucky win due to Curl's interception. And I'm glad he brought that up, Gilbert, because in the 14 play drives, the one at the start of the game and then the one in the fourth quarter, that was the theme. Two things that stood out in those drives, Gilbert. In the first drive, it was that they ran the ball or they picked on the Bears linebackers. They were going fast. And then in the second one, in the fourth quarter, going no huddle was, I thought, finally they made the adjustments. They're like, look, we can't handle these blitzes from the corners. We're gonna go no huddle here. They went up tempo. I thought that changed the momentum. And then of course they had to hold on there at the end. But I thought those were the keys to both of those touchdown drives.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Kyron Williams had 21 carries. It seemed like they weren't really running the football at all, but yeah, I think at the end there they really started focusing more on the running game, no huddle, quick snaps to Kyron Williams up the middle to kind of move the chains, and there were some very impressive long drives there. But uh, yeah, like it just makes you wonder, too many times Sean McVay just goes away from the run. Like what could have happened in this game? And same thing with Ben Johnson. I don't know what happened. Like this is cold weather game, wind factor, and neither team could really establish the run here. Neither team is like very stout against the run. Why not do it more? I don't get it. But again, the Rams did it when it mattered, and I'm surprised Kyron got 21 because he was stuck. He had like 8 around the late in the third quarter.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Gilbert, I thought we see more Blake Corum, but they just went
Yeah.
away. They stuck to the hot hand here with Kyron, and he was doing a good job. I thought they were running the ball well. And I'll give another kind of criticism of Ben Johnson here. Like they were gashing the Rams defense to the outside, and for some reason he kept trying to run the ball, in between the tackles. I didn't understand. I'm like, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm trying to beat them to the outside. And then he kept trying to run to the right side because he had no confidence in the fact that he had Joe Tooney playing again at left tackle, like we saw with the Chiefs last year, him do that at left tackle. And they had that kid Campbell who had only had like a couple snaps in the last 2 years. So I mean, I understood the why he was doing it, but at the same time, I thought the broadcast did uh, a good job of talking about that because I thought, look, this is where you should be attacking the Rams is running to the outside, and for some reason they kept trying to run in between the tackles. But hey, the Rams again took advantage of it, so that's what matters.
Yeah, it was nothing but weird calls from Ben Johnson, and I think the Gerardo, yeah, he said Ben Johnson was acting like this game was mad in real life, and yeah, there were some head scratchers there.
Yeah, I'm with Gerardo there. I'm gonna go quick here. We have Delver says the cold reality of the season ending when Caleb and Komet hit that touchdown, but where was the safety on that play? Ball was in the air a long time onto Seattle.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't even know how you let him
Yeah,
unleash
and even
that
Brian
ball.
Smith's like safety was with Duran, but for whatever reason didn't provide any help. Duran should have knocked it down anyways, or at least not whiffed as bad as he did. And I get it; they were try to get the the OPI there, but it wasn't gonna work. And then the worm says the Collinsworth and Tarico were hyping the Bears nonstop the entire game, unsufferable. But I was happy to see their disappointment at the sign off. I I
Yeah, I
mean,
get it. The Bears are the new contender in town, the new fresh faces, the new coach, the new quarterback, the new everything. We seen this movie with the Rams. I get it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there was times where I'm like, oh, we might get like a Drake May, Caleb Williams Super Bowl. I would not be mad at that. And that was obviously after the Caleb Williams touchdown, game time touchdown. They had the ball to in overtime, and yeah, things just change that quickly. So, but I get it for the broadcasters, and I know people don't want to hear my Bears thoughts because I really was impressed with them all year. But it's tough to beat the experienced team, a team that has a Super Bowl winning quarterback and head coach, and Devontae and Puka. So it's going to take a lot more to knock them out.
yeah, and I mean they've been a great story. Chicago, like that's why we talked about it on the preview. There was no shade like from us about the Bears and Caleb Williams. He's a great quarterback, man, and he kept them in this game. And I have nothing for respect and what they've been able to do this season. I was wrong. I thought it was going to take a little bit of time, and the fact that they were able to patch up that offensive line right away, and they gave the Rams, all they can handle. And at the end of the day, the Rams won, and that's what matters here. Um, Brian Smith with a great point. Glad this game didn't end in controversy
Yeah,
here. So
that was
um,
great. It's a big win for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, because we didn't need that. Worms giving you some love here. He says Gilbert nails it again. McVay lost his mind for a bit and away from the run.
Yeah, I still can't get over how confused McVay looked after Caleb Williams touchdown pass and fourth down. He was, and honestly, I was trying to see if him and Ben Johnson shook hands because I did not
They
see it.
did. They had. I saw the video. They had like a very respectful little conversation. The longest one I've seen from Ben Johnson.
Lame. It would have been great for him to be like, "Suck it, that was my best friend. Get the hell off my field." But whatever.
Pio Time Ram says we got the win, horns up. So great to have Pio on here. Go check out his podcast. He gave us a shout out as one of the Rams
Nice.
podcasts to go check out. So we really appreciate that, Pio. Angel said, "What's up, Vic?" Because I jumped on here first. So what up, Angel? Good to have you on here. It's always good to see members from other fan bases jump on here and give us a shout out. Daniel Calderon. Oh man, that was crazy. We got some more from Daniel. He says Verse needs to play better. Just not good rush. Just not good rush. He was getting blocked by a tight end. So to your point, Gilbert, he's with you here.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably shouldn't keep harping on this on a day that the defense play lights out, but I don't know. I just expect more from him, and I get it. His presence makes life easier for everybody. the run defense has been much better than last year. Besides that Bijan Robinson game on Monday night, but I don't know. I just expect that he'll be maybe on the path of Will Anderson Jr. We saw Will Anderson Jr. be a game wrecker today, even though they lost. But sometimes it shouldn't be that complicated. Go make impactful plays that just change the outcome of games. And they're surviving. They're keep going and advancing. But at some point, you got to make that game changing play. And we saw that against Philadelphia last year. They didn't win that game, but maybe it happens in Seattle. And the more cracks you get at it, the more times you got to come through. But so far, he hasn't. And obviously, it's not just the money plays, but him being there is a factor and it helps out. But Byron, it's not just him. Byron Young had most of his sacks in the first 2 months of the season. He hasn't done much either. I expected a big improvement from Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner. We just haven't really got it this year.
Yeah, and Gary Klein made a great point. Like, you need Jared Verse. He makes life easier for the rest of those guys, and so we'll see if he can continue to do that against Seattle. Uh, a couple more here from Daniel. He says McVay refused to run the ball. It was so frustrating. Stafford was off. And then we got one from a great comment from ESG. He says, "Trust me, they're gonna get pressure on Darnold," is what I think he was saying. So we'll see. And then I saw Happy Gilmore on here. He says, "What up, compas? What I miss?" He says, um, and Daniel says it's still unreal. We play against Cubs, so there we will get to see a third matchup with Cooper Cup here, the ex Rams. And then ESG says it's going to be the oblique versus the finger because everybody here in the comments was saying that Stafford's finger must be really hurting because he didn't have good throws there. But honestly, I think it was the elements, man. When you have snow and that kind of weather, you're playing in what 10-degree weather, like it's going to be hard to throw the ball. Even, I mean, he had a great sip on that throw to Adams, which he got in there. That was a great throw. As we continue to talk about great throws, but yeah, shout out to Stafford for even with the bad, even with the bum finger, he's still getting it done.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was an actual issue for him because if it was, you would think he would let his coach know, "Hey, run the ball more because my finger
Yeah.
is killing me right now." But he looked
Right.
good on the Devontae Adams throw in overtime.
You have here a question from Happy Gilmore. From Bears defense is either underrated or they had a good scheme versus the Rams.
Maybe a little bit of both, but I think it was a really good game plan against the Rams. Obviously, they kind of do well in takeaways. They weren't really up there in total yards, but they know how to get after the ball and force turnovers. But I think it was just a great game plan by Dennis Allen to remove Puka and Devontae. Obviously, they got burned a couple of times by Kobe Parkinson. Uh, you know, we crap on McVay all the time about like not running the football, but he's still a very smart offensive mind out there. Like if he saw a weakness in the run defense where he could just keep attacking it, he would do it. It's just Dennis Allen made it a little more complicated to not notice any like weaknesses. He maybe had some good disguises and made you think. So overall, I think it was just a good game plan by Dennis Allen. And yeah, they also forced takeaways, so it wasn't going to be an easy matchup. And to their credit, they shut down probably the best offense in football and held them to 17 points in regulation. They got the 3 at the end for 20, but that's a big achievement.
Yeah. Two more here, Gilbert, that I'll pick out from here. All good things says, do you think Seattle takes?
California's a dump.
Huh?
Sorry, I just saw the comment there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think Seattle takes former Rams players for intel purposes? We saw this happen with the Texans and the Patriots. The Patriots signed a former Texans player to their practice squad. So
Yeah, I just can't get over that comment from the Illinois logo. Like, yeah, it's probably the most populated city in the country, or besides New York City. But people want to live here. But whatever. Anyways, do you think Seattle takes former Rams players for intel purposes? I'm sure it does factor in, but like I always go back to how like you think you know what you see and on a prior week, and you're gonna try to replicate that, and it rarely happens. Like Bryce Young torturing the secondary, and Caleb Williams doesn't do it. Like it's just not that easy. So even if you get intel, these coaches are always changing their game plan all the time, and I'm sure Cooper Cup could tell you everything about Stafford, but he also has not seen this team with Devontae Adams and three tight ends and things like that. So I don't think it really goes a long way. It's kind of like the whole thing about weather. Oh, California. Speaking of California, they can't hang in the cold elements. They're gonna suffer. Oh, who cares if Stafford played in the NFC North? He left for 4 years and became soft in California. Like it's so overblown.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was gonna say, I did forget that the Rams did sign Darian Kendrick right before the Seattle game, the second matchup. It didn't do them any. They still lost that game, so I don't know how much you take away from that. So we'll see. And then I I like I want to know Henry because he says, Victor, you look like a younger version of the dude on the Avena cartoon. What's funny is I don't know if I need to find out what this is about, but like my other last name is Avena, so maybe you know something I don't know. So that
Last
I
name
would want to
Oatmeal?
know
I had no
what.
idea.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I'll check it out and see if I look like a younger version of that. And then St. Louis Mark says the thicker kicker maybe is the dude. Dano says Camp Kitchens was playing hard. All right,
Yeah,
Gilbert. We got to a lot of the people here in the comments, which really appreciate, and we really appreciate you guys waiting for us to get on here. You know, we got official Oski Wow Wow here,
shout out.
and a 99 member who is not happy about his Bears losing, and so he's taking it out on the comments. So I
Yeah,
hope y'all fault line breaks. He says California is a dump.
I
So
don't I don't know.
hey man, thanks
Blame
for
Ben
joining us. We
Johnson,
really
blame DJ
appreciate
Moore,
it.
blame Caleb Williams, but apparently it's
Yeah,
California's fault.
yeah, it's California's fault. Gilbert, usually, oh, one more thing here before we go, talking about Seattle. The Seahawks open as the 1.5 point favorites
Oh,
for the NFC Championship showdown.
yeah.
Gilbert, who gets your 12-pack of beer for this matchup? Uh, I'm sure you have a lot of places here. Let me get this comment because I saw the Gridiron Beauties on the comments yesterday for our post game show. So I appreciate that. And because of that, I want to get this comment on here before I get your 12-pack player of the game. They say, hey guys, we get revenge against Seattle. I think our defense played well and made enough plays. These games, it doesn't matter how you win.
Yeah, no, that's definitely spot on. It was an ugly performance, and if you're a Bears fan, you're probably saying, "How the hell did we lose that game?" But sometimes experience matters. So when you have Stafford on your side and you don't maximize your opportunity and you give him another chance to win the game, he did it. So, uh, yeah, it was ugly, but here we are for part three of Seahawks versus Rams, and that I'm not too surprised that the Seahawks are the favorite because they won the second game in Seattle and they've been pretty good the last 2 months of the season here. So it's going to be a close game, a tight game, but I think that's right. I think Seattle should be the favorite.
Defense deserves a 12-pack according to Happy Gilmore Gilbert. And then our Illini person here in the comments is still not happy with us. So
Yeah,
and then
Matthew
still
Stanford.
Mark says the West Coast is represented though. LA, Seattle could include Denver if that if we want to real friendly. Um, all right, Gilbert. Who gets your 12-pack of beer player of the game in this win for the Rams?
Yeah. Well, if I have a 12 pack, that means I could give 10 beers to the 10 Rams fans that are out there, according to this Alliance, a fighting Illini. How do you, I don't know, whatever your freaking mask. What the hell is that, anyways? That mascot. Is that a fighting person from Illinois? I don't get it. But what is it? Fighting Illini, right? Or how do you say it? I can't
Yeah, the
even.
Fighting
Yeah.
Nine
Who the hell?
Illini.
What the hell is that? Anyways, give it to those 10 Rams fans, apparently. And then you know what? Let's go. I'll probably take two of yours, Vic. But obviously, Cameron Curl coming up with that clutch interception on DJ Moore, who didn't run through the route. But hey, apparently it's California's fault. Or And I got one more beer right to go again to Quentin Lake for that massive hit he put on DeAndre Swift. So that's two right there, two DBs and 10 Rams fans. There you go.
Yeah. All good things, says Kyron Williams.
Ooh,
The Worm says the secondary deserves to party with that 12 pack.
yeah,
And then Gridiron Beauties. It's a cool matchup, guys. Cooper could have a big game as he is one game closer to the Super Bowl. So a lot we'll get into that matchup. So thank you for the comment there on Wednesday. Mine, Gilbert. We talked about two of the faces here, three, that we've been critical of. I got to give it to Harrison Mevis for kicking that game-winning field goal, sending the Rams to the NFC title game. We get what the matchup that we wanted all along was the third matchup between the Seahawks and the Rams to go for the Super Bowl. One more can you ask? I was hoping that it wasn't in the divisional round. We get it in the NFC title
yeah,
game, and we get the two best teams all season, and they get to go for the right to the Super Bowl. And the other thing I like about this, Gilbert, is it's the second matchup. It's not the first matchup of the day. They picked the better of the matchups, especially once Bo Nix went down. And so I like the fact that we get the night game again, and we get to talk about it after on the post game show. So,
yeah.
all right, Gilbert, that's who I gave it to there. But let's go ahead and close this out. I love all these comments from the Fighting Illini guy.
Yeah, that's good. Keep commenting and hopefully you stick around and you give us a follow and a subscribe here. Yep, Mavis was a clutch there. So big time kick for him to win that game, but it's time to get going. Great victory overall for the Rams. And the Bears have a good team, man. They're on the rise here. Hopefully, this person checked out my words at the beginning of the show, but they definitely earned my respect. I'm sure they earned it from the actual players in the game, the Rams. So it could be a good rivalry for years to come. But time to get going here. Crow was clutch. Give it to the Rams second there as all of the Chicago offense wideouts were taking poop. Okay. Yeah. And Matthew Stanford is one of the greatest QBs. There you go, Matthew Stanford. I love that guy. But yeah, time to get going here. Stay safe, California. Ya nos vamos, pues vámonos.